Welcome, everybody, and happy Friday. It's nice to have you stopping in, and welcome to the Just Jump In live stream. And as usual, let me know you can hear me. I seem to, from time to time, not know how to take myself off of mute, so that would be helpful. Let's check out who's shown up early this evening. And I was the first comment, but I can't give myself the cookie. So Randy, welcome, man. Nice to have you in here. Nice to see you the other day at our TCD meeting. Tim, welcome in. Split Rock, welcome. You know, I thought about it. I printed your the pieces to your center beam, and I didn't bring it with me to the meeting. So you know, that's where my brain is, but I do have that for you to do with what you please, and see if you can come up with glue it better than I can and keep all the little pieces together. And Gopher Girl, welcome in. Hopefully you're not texting on the road. And Mike, Rail Artist, in the house. I still got to get back to you on that offer on the prints. I really appreciate that. So I do have to follow up with you. And hi, Mom. Welcome to the live stream. Have you, I forget which day you were leaving. Have you left already? So, okay. So to be honest, didn't do a lot of work this week. This was a week that I worked in our office. Come home a little more tired doing that than working from home and just moving my chair over to the desk next to my work desk. So didn't do a lot, but want to follow up on the Twin Cities meeting that we had. And then, as you know, from the some of you know, I take a yearly trip out to Chicago to meet my mother, who takes the trip from New Jersey, and my aunt. She is a dollhouse miniature dealer, and the largest show in the world is in Chicago every year in April. And so we make that the family trip, essentially. And we've been doing that for, I don't know, 25 or 30 years. And so we're not in downtown Chicago, but in the surrounding areas, mainly the Northwest suburban area, right around O'Hare Airport. We know it well, and we have our favorite spots, and so we really enjoy the trip. And so that's coming up next week. So, Mike, sorry to hear that. Happy that she's out, and I know you take good care of her, and so she'll get great care at home. And Brad, Well Creek, welcome in. Nice to have you in here. Brad, what was that? I saw the post that of that trackside structure. What actually is that used for? It sounded, if I remember correctly, I thought it said outhouse, but I know it's not an outhouse. It's some kind of observation hut or something. So okay. So one of the things we'll get to tonight is I do want to talk about some of the places to go for model railroading in Chicago. One of the things I didn't do, and I might still do, is I didn't reach out to the division around Chicago and see if I could connect with anybody and see any layouts or anything. I haven't done that all this years, and really should do that. Okay. So moving, let's pull this out. So moving on though, following up from our, sorry for the movement of the camera here. from some discussion from the meeting. So the meeting this month focused on passenger cars. So a number of us brought in passenger cars. There was mostly N scale, um, a little bit of HO scale, some kits with sticks were used. I showed off my cab car where it's at and showed people progress on that. But one of the things that was asked, and I think Split Rock, you were the one that was asked, was what was the engine that I was looking to use, or what I remember. And I know that they had a GP engine from time to time, but it's not what usually was on the line that I took to New York City. As I remembered, it was the ALP 44s. And I don't know much about them. And when I was in Chicago last time and I was spending money like crazy, I picked up this Amtrak Phase 3 AEM 7 locomotive because it's what, when I saw it, it's what reminded me of the engines that I remember. And my mother, Mom, maybe you could, maybe something. I mean, I don't know what the engines were, but maybe this one isn't the one that you remember. But however, basically, it looked almost exactly like this as I remember it. So as I was researching further after the conversation, it turns out that Amtrak, I think it's is it Mark? That's Maryland's transportation. I think even SEPTA in Philadelphia and a couple others in the Northeast um, purchased these, including Amtrak, purchased these AEM 7s. Now, from what I read, the ALP 44s were a very similar design, and they're both Swedish designs. And New Jersey Transit purchased the ALP 44s. That's as much as I was able to glean from the forums and from what's out on the interweb. But at least I have a model here of something similar that I could try a model off of and make when it's time to make motive power for the AP certificates. But I wanted to show you that I had that. That was what I picked up. What I consider pretty cheap. It was 175, and it had DCC and it has DCC and sound, and runs very well. So that was to me, that was a steal, and it has an ESU decoder in it. But I think it was basically like Bachman does the basic sounds. And you can see this is from 2013. So a little bit older. A lot older maybe. And so there you go. So that's the, I've shown it before, I think, but it was a while ago. Now, I was showing everyone that I added a 3D printed part to this engine, and I was showing off all the decals and the parts that broke off while I was there. This part, the cow catcher, broke off while I was there because I was handling it. This right here, let's see if we can get a close up of it. This was made of styrene, and when I was soldering the wires inside here and had it upside down, and of course you can't see that, and I had it over here, because I'm a lefty and I was coming in from this angle, I must have set the soldering iron either too close or right on there, and it has this nice little piece. And I was gonna take the whole thing off, and I was trying to design the cow catcher, and I did design the cow catcher in and we talked about that last time in Onshape. So I only took I printed it out, and then I decided I'm gonna take just part of it and glue it on here. And so that's what I did. And so it looked good, but with some light touches. Would help if I did this. So I just glued this piece on here, and it was fine when I was handling it before the meeting. And at the meeting, I must have just touched against the table or something, and it popped off. So the hard thing to figure out with the 3D printing is which glues will work with which. So, I normally use with styrene, either the Plastruct stuff or the To Me Extra Thin. That only works with styrene, though. It doesn't melt other plastics the same way. So I can't just use that to put this on. And so I used super glue, and it was glued for about a day, and it still popped off easy. So I have some of this plastic bonder from JB Weld. So it's a 2-part epoxy. So I'm going to try that because a lot of people like using epoxy for strong bonds. A lot of people say they're stronger than the super glue. So I have some of that, and I'm gonna go ahead and try that. So yes, Mike. Brad's work is really, really good, and he keeps at it. And then I'm sitting at work thinking, boy, would I rather be doing what he's doing instead of sitting at work and doing what I'm doing. So a little bit jealous there. So this is after this next week, the focus will be on trying to get this ready to go. Question for hey, Great Northern, welcome in. Nice to see you in here again. So Split Rock and some of the others that may be experienced with evaluations for the AP certificates. I know that extra details like the lighting are do get you some extra points. So would I be, if I didn't bring something to a system to plug in and a piece of track, am I really throwing out a lot of points, or is it is it worth doing that? I still have to, I think I need to maybe connect with Lou from the division, since I didn't have the decoder in for the modelers retreat for to put on the tracks and use his Voc programmer. I might have to contact him and see if I can get some help from him, because I can't get those ditch lights to turn on, but they work because I had them programmed, and then the programming went away. And then those marker lights I still can't get to turn on and off. And what I wanted to do is, when I go in reverse, I want to make sure those marker lights go on, but when they go forward, I want them to go off again. Yeah, power to show off lights and sound. That's correct. Should I bring, my NCE system just to set up right there and and find an outlet somewhere and an extension cord, or just wondering what we should do with that, or show them a picture on, show them a video on my iPhone or something. And by the way, this method, I don't have great track work, and I'm really impressed with this method of using the brass tube and soldering. I had to resolder one of these. It did come off from a little bit of pulling and stuff, but hopefully I've got it strong enough because it really does work. And I don't have a current keeper or keep alive in here. So impressed with that method. I'm glad I tried that. I always worry about the when it comes to the evaluation, what the evaluators think is a simple build versus a more complex build and that sort of thing. And as I understand it, if you have more details, and it increases the complexity. So that's kind of why I was talking about the lighting and sound. So Great Northern, have you been to a Twin Cities division meeting or event? If you haven't, go to tcdnmra.com. Okay, let's see. So I would recommend you go and you ask some questions. They have an open invitation for you to be able to attend up to 3 meetings, and if you're not able to make it to meetings, check out the events that we sponsor. You're going to get answers. Just ask the questions. Just it's a matter of asking. And if we don't have the answers, we know where to send you for the answers. And tell us if we're getting too technical on something, and so we can kind of get you at the novice level. And speaking of St. Louis Park, the last couple meetings we've had, and I think our next meeting is in the Byerly's community room up the front of the Byerly's in St. Louis Park. Oh, good. We do a couple of online meetings as well. Show us what you're working on and ask your questions. I certainly try to encourage people to ask questions and get that to be part of a segment of each of our meetings. Hint, hint. Split Rock. We should ask people right up front. Do you have questions? You have years and years of experience of people who can help you get answers. And when you're watching my videos, I do a lot of I make a lot of errors, so you get to see what happens when you make errors, so you can learn from that as well. And the other thing I would say is, I just like, one of my favorite things are techniques, is always trying to find techniques. And there's tons and tons of it on YouTube, hours and hours you can spend on it. I would say, just make sure you try different techniques for the same thing, for what you need, because you need to find what you're comfortable with. And don't be afraid to practice either. Um, have you been to Scale Model Supply in St. Paul? If you haven't been there, they have a back room and they have tons of cheap cars and they have even shells to practice with. I haven't done anything with this one, but I got this for like $5 in their back room. This I stripped it, ready to paint and practice painting. And there's another car. I bought two of them, and there's another car, um, and um, that I already practice painting on. So that's another thing you can do: practice painting and weathering and detailing. If you want to practice detailing a car, um, cutting this down and putting your own details in. Like think of cutting the doors and hinges off and putting your own doors and hinges for the engine you want. That's some of the real technical building stuff. But there's also the layout stuff that you can learn from us, and wiring and DCC and and DC and all of that. You're going to get answers. Oh, so I really like the North Star train um, livery. I really like it. I've just found that they've been pretty expensive, so I never went, and I wasn't gonna be modeling it. But as you can see here, I'm a passenger modeler, not necessarily a freight modeler. Um, but yeah, there's lots of people that can help you with the DCC stuff if you need help with that. So yeah, scenery is one of my favorite things. I found scenery to be an easier part of the hobby. Everybody has their parts that are easy, hard, frustrating. I will tell you that I never want to shingle. I had one shingling experience of a building and I never want to shingle again. So everybody has their experiences with those things. Um, so yeah, but ask away. Ask in here. You have a master model railroader in here, and you have um, oh, and I'm not sure if I asked, but what scale are you working in? Because we have N scalers, we have HO um, scale folks, we have S scale folks, HO. So I started with an N scale layout, and my eyes got a little worse, my hands um, a, a little worse working with stuff, and I really wanted to get into the detail work of doing the AP program and improving the actual modeling. I come from more modeling than operating in the hobby, and so doing something like this was a fun is a fun project, even though it's completely frustrating, and I keep having to fix stuff. Like this thing is going to go here, and so what I might do with this is, because I never liked this piece anyway, that I built. It's all wonky. It doesn't look real. I might end up trying to create a 3D print out of that piece. And the sandbox on here, and then the addition to this are the only 3D printed parts I have for this. But I was successfully able to print the um, middle reservoir, so that small reservoir. And then there's some basic and easy shapes like this. There are two sizes for these cab cars. It's a rectangle for the regular passenger cars. It's a square, so that's really easy. And then I printed this box. It doesn't look the same here. This has more detail than I was able to print. I haven't been able to get it small enough and to print it. But I have a basic box with a small design on it. And so next thing to do is to go and design these other boxes. One of the things I was frustrated with, this has a handle on here, and I can draw it and design it in Onshape, but I can't get the printer to print it. So I continue to struggle with that. Hey, Jimmy, welcome in. So yeah, so I spend some time with, the most of the time with 3D printing, by the way, just to print something this small or whatever, is in the design phase. Um, you know, you can spend um, you can spend 50 hours or whatever. I can't tell you how many hours I spent putting this together with the styrene and measuring, cutting, and gluing and painting and all of this to make it look like a train, like an underbody of a car. Um, in 3D printing, it's the most tedious and longest, maybe not tedious for everybody, but the longest time you spend on 3D printing is going to be your design. So I go into Onshape and I make designs, and then I go print them. And if they don't work, I go back and fix them, and so on. And here's for the dollhouse miniature that I'm doing. Here's like an example of one of the passenger car. This didn't take 2 minutes to build. Somebody had to figure out, to make this all work and work with the other parts of the trains and print well and everything. And that's where all the time goes into it. But I enjoy that part, and I've done some successful prints, and that gets me excited because now I successfully printed the reservoir and the two rings around it. Now I just need to print 4 of them, and they're ready to be glued onto the frame. These are all printed for all of them already. So I have the smaller square ones. They're all printed. These boxes are printed for all of them. And if something goes wrong, so like here, this went wrong. And so what happens if this breaks? I can print another one. Or if it doesn't come out real well, I can print another one, and that takes no time for something this small. So to design all the parts of this thing, which has a grill here, the body, it has a rounded end here with some supports in here, and then some greeblies on the inside of this. That's going to take some time to design. It's going to take a lot of time to design and design nicely, and then that shouldn't take too long to print, and I can print 4 of them out and glue them on, and hopefully they'll stay. And there you go. So let me show you the wiring on here, because I try all the time to be really careful and neat with wiring, but it doesn't work out. So on here you have the headlights in the middle down here. I built this little and painted this little piece on here to contain the light. The marker lights on either end, the ditch lights up here, and I apologize. The other part that's printed are these ditch light housings, these two right in here. I don't know if you can see that real close. But those were 3D printed. And I didn't 3D print those. I designed them. But before I got my 3D printer, I had a family member who was printing for me. And so we successfully got those done. I had to travel those little tiny things back from New Jersey to Minnesota, and got through TSA just fine with them. And then on this end here are the marker lights as well. And then obviously here's a speaker, and this is from ESU. It's a Loke Sound 5 FX, and so it has every other function except motor function. And it was basically designed, if you could design it as a stationary decoder, or you could do, it was designed for those that have cab cars. So if it's pushing, if you have an engine pushing, then this syncs up the sound. And the decoder, the Loke Sound decoder, is actually this right here, and it connects to this board is a Nick's Trains decoder buddy, and the decoder slides right on. It's 21 pins, and they slide right on and slide real easy, and they're odd number because it's 21, so it makes it real easy to figure out. And they're long pins, they all fit. There's no problem getting that on. And then the decoder buddy has soldering pads on the ends and on the sides, but then it also has this piece in here that all your auxiliary functions, you solder to this, and this also comes up, and this has pins as well. So you don't need to have so you can solder under the board. You can pull these off and everything. It was really, I'm not any great solderer, if that's a word. But I've had some practice now, enough where, I could, destroy a part, but get everything soldered and everything works. So first I tested all of the lights, and I tested them at every stage. They've all worked. And so I know that these, like, for instance, the ditch lights work, and it's the programming that's the problem. Lost my train of thought, but so soldering is not a problem for me. I'm confident enough with it just to get the wires soldered in. It just takes a second to get it done, and it gets done, and everything's in there solid. Which includes here, these went out to the wheels, and I actually had, I don't know if you can see them, but there were two holes on either end that were designed with this base, so that wires could go through and everything. But with this design, I only needed one wire, and I found that these were too close to the flanges of the wheels, and they were just going to cut into the wire. So I did just end up drilling a hole in the middle there, and soldering them on, and there's very little friction, but the electricity connects very well. Like I said, I can find, there are plenty of different versions of current keepers, and I could find them, and I can get that soldered into the decoder buddy, and we're all good. But right now I know it works. Just the functions are the problem. but that's my side. That's my wiring job. Um, as long as long as I can trace the wires back to where they go, that's good enough. And then you know, and making sure I don't cut the wires off as I put this back in here. The other thing I have to figure out too, I mean, it stays fine. There's a gap on this end that I don't like, over here and over here. And it's a gap that you don't see on this end. And so I have to figure out how to set that in. These clips are loose. There are little tiny nubs for clips on there, but they don't stay in there. So I have to figure out how to keep that in. And then it's continue to work on the details. So getting windows in, getting grab irons onto the ends of, there's a grab iron that kind of goes diagonal across the logo there. There are some other pieces that I couldn't that again I couldn't print. They were way too small to go on here. Grab irons onto the back end here, and then some roof details like the lift rings. I couldn't get them printed. They were too small for the printer, but I can do them in styrene and get them on there. You don't have to do pantograph on here because, again, like if the engine has pantograph, you're fine. You can do a pantograph on there. I don't plan to do that at this time. I thought about doing this version also. Some of them have beacons on these cab cars. I didn't initially do that, but I could get those in there as well. But that's where I'm at with this. There's one decal fix I want to do. I have the wrong size decal on there, but I'm running out of decal sheets. So I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do for decal sheets. I'm going to run out of, these logos and things because I just can't find any of the New Jersey Transit ones out there anymore. And they're not Microscale. I don't believe makes them anymore, and nobody else makes them. And New Jersey Transit is one you have to license, and apparently they're tough to get a license from. So, but we can still fix that and get that the right size. And then I'm going to use micro crystal clear for the windows. So this is wrong way. This is micro crystal clear. It's like a white glue, but it dries crystal clear. Unfortunately, from too much going on here, I'm going to have to replace this. There's tape in the back, so it looks like there's stuff, but there's kind of debris that's gotten stuck on there. These cars did come with these kind of opaque windows, some dark, but they're dark. And so I still kind of want to get seating in here if I can. That would be a nice detail, but have to get those windows in there. And so I'll just use this, and this seems to work pretty well. I've tried other things. I could put, acetate behind, but I don't think it looks as good personally. And I'm getting ready for this miniature show, and helping my mom out doing some 3D printing to try and draw people in who, even though it's dollhouse miniatures. I just printed tonight. I got some right after the Twin Cities division meeting. 2 minutes away is a micro center, which is the only local place that has, you know, has filament on their shelves. So I got some red filament, and just before the um, live stream, I got it set up, and I printed a red version of these cars. So I'll add one more in here, and then I'll keep one of these blank, or just put the track in here as the display, and then have the white train running around the train table that I built. And then I printed a few extra of these, and I'll give people, if they want them for a couple dollars. I'll give them the track ready to be put in here if they want to do that, or if they want to use this for some other miniatures. If they like this little cabinet, then they can do that. I've got to get once I get the other one in here, I've got to get acetate on the front end of this. But I bought little sheets of that at Michael's, so really cheap. And so that's got to be done this weekend, because we'll be leaving Wednesday. And so the other thing I wanted to talk about when I put on the thumbnail was Chicago. I'm curious, for those who have been to Chicago, who've shopped for model railroading stuff, what their preferences for shops would be. I've been to I haven't been to any downtown. I don't, all these years, I don't go downtown Chicago. So it's on the outskirts. So, there's Des Plaines Hobbies. There was another shop in Des Plaines that I was looking for, and it's not Des Plaines Hobbies. It's a smaller shop in the older downtown part. And when you walk in, it's very hard to move around. I'm trying to locate which one that is, because I know that guy used to make deals all the time, and if he's trying to move merchandise, I'm sure he will make deals. One of my favorite online and local retailers there is Lombard Hobbies. So curious what others who have been to Chicago, what they what shops they shop at. So, yeah. I'll have to check out, like I said, I'll have to check out what the most local division is to Chicago, and see if I can connect with anybody there. So they have a hobby town. I've been in there. It's like any other hobby town. It's split. So some of it's trains, and there's nothing that jumps out at me there. I always go in to look, but I leave pretty much. They're talkers. They like to talk there. There's Des Plaines Hobbies. There's Lombard Hobbies. Just checking to see if I see any other hobby shops. Let's see here. There's a few hobby towns. Brick Loot. We'll have to check out Brick Loot for Gopher Girl. I know I can hear her. She just got home. She had to do a run to pick up some groceries and stuff. So I know she was probably sitting and waiting for the groceries to come out when she popped in. But we'll definitely be looking at Lego places as well. But I don't see, just from a plain internet search, I'm not seeing a whole lot other than the couple shops that I've mentioned. So anybody else that has any ideas of a good shop, please let us know. So let's take a look. Okay, so the NMRA division around there is the Fox Valley division, and they actually have a list. But theirs is a bigger list. We're kind of in a specific area. But we'll have to take a look. But so. Looks more like a toy store. Okay. Yeah, it just I wonder if just some of them have closed. I just remember there being quite a few choices. There was one year I went and there were like 4 or 5 right in the area. But that just may not be the case anymore. I think I checked Chicagoland Hobbies out before. I don't remember on that. So, and those of you who have shopped like This Plains Hobbies website, been in their store, great people to talk to, easy to shop around the store. But I find I struggle on their website finding stuff, and I wish it was a little easier to use. Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's just not as much. The other thing, when timing is right, the other thing that I like to attend, and it was much bigger years ago. It's much smaller, but it happens every month at the DuPage County Fairgrounds, which is probably a half hour outside of where we are, um, about a half hour from the airport. Um, they used to have, like Springfield has multiple buildings. They also have multiple buildings, but it's again just much smaller. And I was so lucky that one guy there had like 5 of these boxes of these Horizon cars. So I consider that a success. But they're once a month, and they're usually at the beginning of the month. They're like the first weekend of the month or whatever that might be, or second weekend of the month. And the Dollhouse Miniature Show kind of rotates a few of the weekends in April, but has generally been on the back end of April, so it hasn't worked out. But last time it did, and that's where I got these. I got them for He had them for 15 a car, and it was going to come out to whatever I was buying was going to come out 75. I asked him for a break on it because I was buying multiple cars and getting them off his out of his inventory, and he gave me $5, and I said thank you. Wish he gave me a little bit more, but I took it, and I'm happy I did. And so, because that's going to be the main fleet, I guess you would call it. So I suppose I didn't ask you this either. So Great Northern, is it the Great Northern that you're modeling? Um, and or are you looking to do prototype freelance, proto freelance? Ask because you may coming to our meetings or talking to us, we may have a joke or two about the goat, um, but definitely relevant in this area. So also, um, so what is everybody working on their layouts or on their benches tonight? So hopefully, hopefully I can continue to work on this while I'm getting ready for our trip. But it's going to be a lot of laundry this weekend, and a lot of getting ready that for that piece of the trip. All that stuff. We'll be doing the good old driving out there, and we'll stop in either Madison or in the Wisconsin Dells. Um, oh, nice. So, Jimmy, are you paving that the the track? Is it gonna be like a paved street running? Um, because that's really neat. If you can do that, that's a really neat look. Seen some great stuff out there, and get it running. So and it'd be neat to have it running and actually working. Um, so as a as oh, cool, pave like downtown Minneapolis. Nice, Randy. That's I'm not used. I know you've built structures before, but I'm mostly used to seeing you work on your rolling stock. You have your mobile, which is a neat thing about N scale. You basically have your mobile desk, and you know, if you see Randy, he's working on something and he's got it with him. But that's a um, good thing about N scale. Oh, I guess we are going downtown. That's right. We're gonna go see the Harry Potter store. Um, so, so Harry Potter and Lego and maybe some trains, and then maybe we'll spend some time with my mom and my aunt. So I'm trying to convince Gopher Girl to start like designing stuff so that she can buy the bricks and build versus just building sets. But I did say she has to actually finish some sets first because uh, they're just overrun the whole house. There's sets everywhere. And and Mike, if you're still in here, can I am I able to reach out to you on Facebook Messenger, or is there some place you want me to reach out to you on to follow up on our previous conversation? Priorities. Yeah, I really like the Harry Potter books myself. I had to, in order for me to um, finish the books, I always had this thing with reading. I've had learning disabilities growing up, and reading was always very hard. And to be honest, I learned to read on Star Wars books. But um, anything over um, 300 pages, I kind of zone out. Um, but with Harry Potter, it was intriguing enough. It was, fantasy, kind of science fictiony, but really, fantasy. Um, and it kept a hold on me. And um, then we used to get CDs for the car back in the day. And I would be able to listen to some of it, then read some of it, go back to listen to some of it. Um, and it really, really helped. So we'd have a long trip to Chicago. That's great. We finished two books, one on the way, one on the way home. Um, and so I really was able to identify with the books too, because I was able to get through them, even though they were hundreds more pages than I can usually read. And um, and so I'm definitely a fan. Um, when I was finishing up my graduate degree, um, I um, I had to take a test, and it was an essay test, and you were asked like two or three questions, and you basically had to regurgitate the stuff you learned. But I was never good at that. I could do multiple choice just fine, but an essay test scared me because I just was never able to sit there and regurgitate the stuff. But I had studied and studied and studied for years because I did an internship. So while I was even doing the internship, I was studying for the exam part of it. And so I had to go back up to school. And I went to school, believe it or not, in Springfield. Um, right around the corner from the big show. And I didn't even know that show was there. Um, which is a travesty because I was up there for 2 years and could have attended it those years. Anyway, so there was a book release, and we found a Barnes and Noble doing a book release. And Gopher Girl wanted to go, and I said, okay, let's go. Ken, welcome in. Nice to see you. You were hiding behind the TCD logo. I get it. So, and she kept asking me, do you really want to go to, do you really want to go to this? We don't have to do this. We don't have to do this. You have to test in the morning and everything. I said, I know it back, front, and sideways. I've been studying it for 2 years, and it's the same stuff. I'm just going to regurgitate out. And she's like, so, it actually is getting late there, and we were there for a long time. But the real reason I want to go is this Barnes and Noble wasn't in the best area up there. So I didn't want her to go alone in a place she didn't really know well. So I went with her, and it was a nut house, and it took a long time, and I was tired getting back, and she was really apologetic. But, I took the test the next morning, and I aced that thing because it's the same 4 questions that I studied for 2 years and was able to regurgitate. But that was one of our books. Gopher Girl, do you remember which book that was? Which of the series? And yes, we're going to be doing lots of Lego visits, which is interesting. We used to go all the time to comic book stores. That sort of went away. We have one comic book store we usually go visit. But she doesn't buy any comic books anymore. She buys, what we should do is take her whole collection and sell it to the guy there. Just saying. So, Kim, what are you working on tonight? Another thing too, Great Northern. If I didn't mention it, if when we schedule our next skills day, come out for that. So our skills day is my favorite thing that we sponsor. It's because it's a collaborative thing where we basically have 3 workstations in a big warehouse, and everybody contributes. So it's not a straight clinic. We usually have somebody who just guides the conversation about the thing. So we actually had, for instance, I don't know if you've heard of taco sauce or the Tamiya panel liner. We actually had one of the tables at one of the events, and it was just about it was just about this stuff. We got it's Ken, you can correct me. I can't remember I'm blanking for whatever reason on the company that provided us with their foliage and tree making stuff, and people showed each other how they made trees, and we used all those supplies. Um, Scenic Express, thank you. Gosh, I have my mom's disease. That we can't remember names right when we need to know the names. So, we did something like that. We had somebody drive the discussion on how to do decals, and everybody practiced. And we usually have supplies. Somebody brings stuff in and have supplies to do different things. And we've done a couple of ones with different types of weathering along with like the panel liner, and everybody contributes. And that's my favorite event because we're not just somebody's not talking at you. We're all sitting there. Somebody's guiding the conversation, and we get into it and we show each other what we're doing and, help each other out. And I find that to be one of the most fun things. So if you can make it to our next one, make it to our next one. But you are a nerd gopher girl. Jimmy, is that no scale train? Because those things are big. It's if it wants to ride one of those, it would dominate an HO scale train. You could do target practice with it. HO. That thing has got to be gigantic on top of there. I can just see it like sitting up like this big on there. Need some rubber bands, start shooting at it, see what you do to it. One of the random thought, because I'm looking at a piece of track that I have here. One of the things that's different about Northeast Corridor is you've got cement ties, and there's two brands out there of cement ties, and I think I have some micro engineering track that I bought with the cement ties. But I'm curious, and I've seen actually the tie pieces. I know at Scale Model Supply, I saw them. There's a company that makes just them. So if you want to add the track to it yourself. But I thought about, hey, is that 3D printable? I'm sure it is. So I'll think about maybe trying that at some point when I move further along in the build process. I feel like with work, so 2 out of the last 3 weeks I've worked in the office. I haven't done much afterwards. Got to go out to layout tours. We had an event where we had layout tours on the east side of the Twin Cities, and then we had this meeting. So I haven't done a lot of modeling, and I keep thinking about all the things I want to work on. And I know you have to do so many cars and so many engines, and have to get scenery done and buildings done and all kinds of things. And so I kind of want to push myself to get moving. So I keep going back to I want to get moving with molding the bridge part um, of the train station. So the train station is raised. You actually go up to the second floor from the street level, and you come out, and you actually have to go up another 5 steps to the platform. And so the bridge part of it is about 15 foot high, and then it's like another 5 feet or whatever to the platform. And I'm gonna see if I can find that. So I started working with I did a thin wood pieces to kind of be the inside of the structure, and then I have 1-inch insulation foam, and I cut those out, and I was starting to do kind of the brickwork, one brick at a time. And that's a tough thing to accomplish. So I was looking at other possibilities, and so we had a clinic. It was the last clinic of the modelers retreat and where the Stone Arch Bridge was done. In let's see here. Stone Arch Bridge was done in Minneapolis using hydrocal, I believe it was, and plaster type of thing. What the heck? Give me a sec here. I'm trying to find on Google Earth what I want to show you. So let's do this and this. And let me see if I can share it here. And it just went dark. We're going to share screen. And let's see if you can see. So we move this around here. That's the stonework. Here's the station on the right here, the platform at the top. And that's the stonework that goes all the way across, and it goes as a bridge all the way out over a river. And so what I want to do with that is I want to try instead to do the hydrocal plaster version, and I'll have to go back and Ken or Tom, you probably can tell me again who it was, but I couldn't find him on social media, so I don't know if he's on social media. But wanted to get some advice on how to do that. There isn't a whole there's general uses of how to make a mold and then how to then scribe it and everything. But I wanted to, he had pieces of the molds, he had pieces that he created. And so I wanted to connect with him again because I'd rather do this. Because so on this part of it, and this will probably qualify as a bridge, which is something we'll need as part of the certificates. But as you move, all right, let's pull it out of that. This part of it here is solid, and going out there, but as you move, what I do want to do is the water scene, and you can see here there's roadways and then the arches here, and then repeating the arches here over the water. That's the what just happened to me here. What did I just do? Let's try this. Yeah. What did I do? Well, I made a mess of that is what I did. There we go. So I can do that for water. I may or may not do that because I'm not going to have so much room, and I'm going to have to compress this quite a bit. But again, I would, and I think this, oh my goodness, you can see the stone's different here for this bridge. So it's going to have to look different as you come out. Here's where this stone stops, and it looks like that's probably, I'm guessing, cement. But either way, that's kind of what I want to try to do instead of carving the I just think it'll look nicer than carving out the insulation foam. So I want to get to work on that. I just feel like I'll work on the station more if I get that in place and I get track on top of it, and I get that moving. And then one of the details will have to be, and you can't really see it there, you can barely see them, is I got to figure out more heights of these catenary. They're really, really tall, and I've seen lots and lots of details about them, but none of them really focus on on how tall they really are. But they go up pretty high. That's probably not the best. What is going on here? Anyway, anyway, so there's like 3 levels of them, but they go up really, really. Oh, there we go. I wish I had a train to show you, but the train's just in here. And then you have all those levels. So that'll be, and there's not many people that do all that. Not many modelers that do the Northeast Quarter. So I don't have a lot of examples, but I'll have to study what's out there. And when I get back out east, hopefully I'll be doing that this year at some point. I'll have to connect with some people out there to look at some layouts that have catenary. But yeah, so that's what's on the mind. But I'm gonna get back to I'm gonna get back to this. Trying to finish up this cab car, and I don't know what just happened here and why you guys can't. I'm still getting used to these controls after all this time, but it's trying to finish out a project. One of the things that I get frustrated with is oftentimes I end up with lots of projects, but nothing actually done. So I really want to get. So I was really excited to get to the end of the flat car, which is ready for evaluation. It's all packed away in here. But I want to get this finished up too, because then I'm gonna still have to build the other cars and do all the other things. So, and like I said, I have pieces ready to go for the underbodies of the other cars, and I'm really tempted to jump in and do those. But I'm really trying to get my mind set around finishing this up. It was helpful to have the meeting where we were showing off the passenger cars, because that pushed me to get that done, or get that as far as done as I could, which was mainly the decals and the painting of these stripes, which are just okay. But as I told Ken when he was taking pictures, when he was taking pictures, that I have a 3-foot rule. My stuff will never be masterpiece. I'll get better at it, but all pictures should be from 3 feet. And so that you're not focused too much on the detail, because from 3 feet away, it's going to look fantastic. And yeah. So that's where I'm at. I do have, because I'm trying to finish things up and be ready for this trip, I also have to finish a bunch of work things. So tomorrow morning, I'm going to be forcing myself to sit down at my paid job work desk and force myself to get some things done. So I won't do stuff in the morning. And then I know in the afternoon, Gopher Girl and I we're going to run the dogs over to get some grooming done on them. And before they're going to be staying at a PetSmart hotel, which they really love. They thrive there, and we always wanted to have friends, or licensed or not licensed, or just people experienced to babysit them. And we've had some bad experiences. We've had some good experiences, but our dogs love going to our local PetSmart. They're in Eden Prairie. Even we're not even close to there, and they know we're going there in the car, and they know what they're looking for, and they get so excited long before we even get there. They want to get in there. They're excited to see us when they're when we come pick them up, but they don't hate it there. Let's put it that way. We'll have to we're getting them ready for that, getting ourselves ready for the trip. Um, and then I think after the trip, I'm going to jump back into this. I have another week in May that'll be in the um, in at work before the convention, so that's not convenient, but um, I'm going to power through because I definitely want this to be at its end by the convention, and we're getting close. So. Then not only do they not say goodbye, they try to push their way past their reception desk and into the doorway, get in there, and get upset when the people there are taking too long getting everything set up. So yes, that's what's up next. Now I I have no plans to do live stream next week because we'll be down there. We won't have the equipment to do that with us. Um, I don't have the capacity on our phone. We don't have the capacity on our phones to do kind of live stuff. Um, I'll try to remember to take some pictures. I'm never good at that, remembering to take pictures of stuff. But to maybe get some pictures of some of the hobby shops and would be nice to do. And certainly, if I can connect with anybody and maybe do some layout tour type of things, that would be fantastic. But I'll have to work on that pretty quick since we're around the corner from that. But with that, I am going to go ahead and wrap us up tonight. I really appreciate you sticking with me even on these weeks where I don't do a whole lot of work. Um, if you're in the Twin Cities area, reach out to any of us that you connect with through our chats here that are in the Twin Cities. We will connect you with anything and everything model railroading here. And as I always say, um, just jump in and try something. And you may like it, and it may take you down a path of no return and no more money, but it's all about trying stuff and just jumping in. And with that, I'm going to say, everybody, have a great weekend, and we'll see you on the rebound.